The government had opportunity to deal decisively with the issue of subsidy. They played politics with it. Said they won't remove, there was no subsidy. Then, oh, there is a subsidy. Then we will increase fuel price. They increased it. And here we are, still paying huge amounts of money in subsidy. Because the economics of subsidy is that the more oil prices go up, the more you pay for the fuel. So people keep asking, what did PDP do with the money that came during their time? The more money we earned from oil, the more we paid for fuel consumption. And the more money we earned, the more the wages of the civil servants were increased. So during our time, we increased it in 2010 to 18,000 minimum wage, which at the time was about $120 US. At 30,000, the government is planning to go to now. They will be paying less than $60 to the civil servants. So invariably, I think that the government has mismanaged the Nigerian economy. Not only has it mismanaged the Nigerian economy, it has also mismanaged Nigeria's reason for existence, our unity. That thing that made us Nigeria, that thing that made us able to overcome a civil war and still live as if nothing happened. That unifying spirit of Nigeria has been badly damaged under this government, what I call a very divisive government. So we have value destruction on one side, we have divisiveness on one side. That today, during the election, the word that is trending out of the election is accusing people of being ethnic bigots, accusing people of being religious bigots. Yeah. Words that were already in retreat in Nigeria. So I think that beyond the issue of the nitty-gritty day-to-day running, the government has doubled, tripled our debts. The debts at a level higher than our fiscal responsibility asks us for. The fact that the capital votes are only about 16% of the money in the budget goes for capital spending, 83% still goes for recurrent. And the fact that appointments in the country are skewed and in violation of our federal character laws, those are even the lesser issues. The more one is the fundamental philosophical issue of healing a nation after a very bitter election in 2015, an election that left the country badly divided between the South and the North, an election that created us to our fault lines, Christian and Muslim, that tested our strength of our unity. The government continued a Scotch-Egg policy of divisiveness and then also of value destruction by inaction and inability to utilize the enormous human resource that we've had in Nigeria. I mean, Babangida, as a military head of state, had an economic advisory committee led by a university professor. Abacha, despite all his high-handedness, had Professor Aluko advising him on the economy. Nothing stopped President Buhari and the APC of setting up an economic think tank outside of government economic management team to just tell us what direction. I mean, no direction is superior to the other. If we want to approach a statist control approach, then we have to have a holistic plan to do it. If we want to pursue a deregulated free market economy like the PDP has done, then you must have a philosophical framework to pursue that. So I think that basically, I think that there is much to be done, and it will take us some time to recover Nigeria again to be a value-creating state, a state that people can trust, a state that will not expropriate capital. Because what we did to the telecoms, the PDP brought telecoms companies under a very transparent license bid round sales, and you say they were infractions from those telecom companies, and you debited the accounts of banks that were in the CBN without a valid court order, without anything, just because you're the regulator. This was expropriation. So we need to return Nigeria to the time when everybody knows that the rules are the same. It will apply across the board.
So that is an extensive analysis. I quite enjoyed that. Now, coming back to, I want to touch on ex-President Ebele Jonathan. We were both at the event yesterday. Why do you think he's being seen as the democratic leader of Africa now?
Because he was instinctively a Democrat. You know, if you grew up in Nigeria and you went to university, go all the way to get a PhD, be a lecturer, teacher, work for government, became a deputy governor, then a governor, then a vice president, then an acting president, then a president, you are instinctively a Democrat. Your DNA is that of, and by his personal disposition, so he's instinctively a Democrat. So I think what came out to play out with the 2015 election was that here was a man who didn't need to do the electoral reforms that created the transparency that INEC now had for an opposition party to win, but he did it. Here was a man...
Still, do you reckon INEC has got the transparency? Are they transparent enough, though?
No, I don't think they are now. I don't think they are. I think INEC has become a tool in the hands of a ruling party. So it's a little disappointing, but we hope that they will self-correct before the elections.
Right. Yeah, that's the big word. Hope.
Hope.
Because I looked at the Osun state election, the Ekiti state election, and there were quite a lot of issues. There were quite a lot of complaints about what went on during those elections. Now we have the 2019 election coming up. Obviously, there's going to be loads of states running their governorship at the time, and then you're going to have the presidential. Do you think, what do you envisage is likely to happen at that time? Because I remember with Ekiti State, 30,000, this is not confirmed, but this is what's online, 30,000 security personnel, the police, the army, were dispatched into the states, basically. So what do you envisage come 2019?
I don't envisage anything better than what they've done. I mean, you can only predict the future by looking at the past. So the past hasn't been a good story. More so, and this is where the disappointment comes from a president that have accused INEC of working against him 3 times. In 2007, he took INEC to court for non-compliance with the electoral laws in the conduct of the election. And, you know, to come back and, in 2007, you know, the current Nigerian ambassador to the US was a judge of the appeal court who gave a judgment in support of the current president. It was a minority judgment, but he declared the election of 2003 as a horrible election, an election that should not be remembered. In 2007, Justice Oguntade, then of the Supreme Court, said, no, I do not agree with the majority. This election should go to President Buhari because there was substantial non-compliance. Justice Oguntade is now the Nigerian High Commission to the UK, and I've forgotten the name of the other judge, is now the Nigerian ambassador to the United States. Okay. Now, so you would think that the president, having gone through this process, will be more interested in making INEC, you know, an impartial arbiter, in making INEC to say, this thing that happened to me shouldn't happen to any other person. Yeah. It doesn't matter if I'm the one contesting or not. But I haven't seen that. I haven't seen a microscopic look at the operations of INEC. For an organization that have disappointed him 3 times, at least by his own account, by his going to court to challenge those elections. So I think that we can't expect anything much better from what. But I believe in the power of the Nigerian people, the power of civil society, to cast their votes and to defend their votes. I think Nigerians are sufficiently hungry and angry to want to effect change.
I always say something, Nigerians talk a lot, but do they actually match those words with action? Do you think come 2019 Nigerians would actually do the needful?
I believe so, because I think they did it in 2015. Okay. To a large extent, in 2015, Nigerians who have been what I would call brainwashed into a certain mindset. And I think they came out in large numbers and their voice was clearly heard. We clearly heard them. And that's why PDP has gone into a metamorphosis, to rethink itself, to reimagine itself, and reposition itself.
Right. So if you say PDP is now repositioned itself, what do you expect of the PDP then? In the next, I don't know, come 2019, let's say they win the election. I'm not saying they will, in quote. let's say they win the election, do you think PDP's learned from the past?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. The way the primaries was conducted for PDP shows you that the party has come a long way. I tell people that the PDP has gone through the cycle. You know, there's nothing like experience and there's nothing like time. There are some things you can't learn in the classroom. Only time will teach you that. So PDP has gone from a party supported by the military, who handed over to PDP in 1999, to a party that was in power for 16 years and lost its moral compass at some point because there was some hubris. We were the biggest party. We will always win elections. We didn't see anybody coming. So to a party that lost the election and now trying to come back. So you see, the metamorphosis was so strong that as at the time we were in Port Harcourt voting, nobody could tell you who will win that election in Port Harcourt. Because PDP has turned away from a party owned by a few people who determine what happens to a broadly based owned party. So nobody could tell, unlike before. If you go to the APC, once somebody from Lagos says vote this way or president says it will happen. But in PDP, it wasn't that way. People actually voted and until the votes were counted, we didn't know who was the winner. So I think that is a major evidence of the growth, repositioning, and the transformation of PDP, that it is moving from an electoral vehicle to a winning coalition, a governing coalition, a party that understands the importance of maintaining minimum standards of transparency.
Right, okay, so I want to talk about the party's candidate, Atiku. Now, you as a member of the campaign team, do you see Atiku winning the election? Do you think he's the right candidate for the PDP come 2019?
At this time, yes.
When you say at this time,
yes.
What does that imply?
So when I say at this time, in the context of our electoral experience, in the face of the type of president we have today, and the position, we couldn't have gotten a better candidate to match at this time.
There are other candidates springing up from other parties. They're not as big as PDP or the APC, but people tend to recognize their experience, maybe not politically, but in the private sector. People tend to recognize their professionalism as well. Do you think this set of people are likely to cut out some of the votes that the APC or the PDP is likely to be getting 2019?
Well, we've always had multiple candidates in every presidential election in Nigeria.
Yeah, that's correct, but I'm not sure.
This is not the first time.
I'm not sure the candidates that were there then from those little parties were they as strong as the ones they have now? You have the likes of Kingsley, you have Fela Durotoye, you have Showore, Sahara Reporter, people like that.
So when you say people like that, are you talking about people's electoral relevance or their social media relevance or their presence on the newspaper? No, I'm just curious because they are solid people, all the candidates running. And with all due respects to the past, all the candidates that have run before too are also very solid people. So I think it needs organization, it needs infrastructure, it needs money to build a machine that can deliver you. There's going to be 120,000 polling units on election day. So you need to have 120,000 members in all the polling units in the country to even have presence.
But should that, is it meritocratic enough? Are we now saying that if those parties are not big enough, if they don't have the funding to actually be present in all of those places, are we saying that they don't stand a chance? Should it be that way, or should it be based on their credibility?
Well, I would have loved it to be based on credibility. But at the end of the day, this is what it is. The voters are going to look around at their poll units and be sure that, hey, there's somebody here defending the votes of Mr. X or Mr. Y. If they don't see it, then they don't waste their votes.
Okay, so one last thing would be, what would you say to Nigerians come to 2019 about their decision making?
Well, make your decisions, with clear mind about tomorrow. There are two things that normally happen in an election. People either sell fear or they sell hope. The APC is selling fear to Nigerians. Oh, the thieves are coming back. Oh, the PDP is doing this. They have not focused on what they have done as a government. But we are selling hope. Nigeria cannot be the poverty capital of the world. Nigeria cannot be a place with the highest number of deaths in a non-civil war environment. Nigeria must be a country where every part of Nigeria feels a sense of belonging and a sense of ownership, equal ownership, in this corporation called Nigeria. So I think that in going to cast their votes, Nigerians are going to be making a choice between those that ignite our fears and those that address our hopes, between those that takes us back to our fault lines and to those that paint over our differences to create a new tapestry of the new Nigeria we want to belong to. The election before us is about two men. One stuck in the past, post-Civil War Nigeria, the Nigeria of Igbos and Hausas and Yorubas. And the other candidate, a man who has walked across Nigeria, who has developed relationships across our ethnic groups, who says our ethnic divide is only a God-created design. And that design is intended to offer us an opportunity to pull our strengths together, to reduce our weaknesses, and to form a nation where no man is oppressed. That was the prayers of our fathers when they crafted our old national anthem. Said, "O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed." And I believe that that nation, that Nigeria of our dream, that Nigeria that everybody in the world hoped for, everybody looked forward to, that Nigeria that the world looked upon and said, you know, this is the Renaissance Nigeria according to Zeke. This is Renaissance Africa. This is a Nigeria that will be the shining light, a city on top of the hill. This is the Nigeria that is held, according to Amichua in her book, Triple Heritage. Nigerians have the highest number of graduates from Ivy League universities in the United States. Nigeria has the highest portion of lawyers in Wall Street, in the main street in America. Nigeria have the highest number of doctors working in the United States. And across Europe and everywhere, Nigerians have proven themselves across all fields. All we need is a leadership that taps into our numerous energies. A leadership that, like a conductor of an orchestra, brings all the discordant tunes into a harmonious symphony and makes a nation that the world will look back and not say that Rwanda is the new Geneva of Africa. There can be no Geneva of Africa if there is no London in Africa. And Nigeria is the only country with the potentials and the capacity to create that capital city, that economic capital, that vibrant country where everybody from all nooks and crannies of Africa look forward to for direction. That is the core of this election. The man who will turn Nigeria away from the poverty capital of the world to the prosperous nations that we have always held out the hope for. And I believe that Atiku Abubakar has the means to start the journey to that new Nigeria.
Okay, and that would bring it to a wrap on today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed it as much as I have. As I always say, we would always bring you quality updates. Stay with me as we bring you more. See you next week.